G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here, back with a new playthrough. Yes, let's start the playthrough and I will talk about it as we go along to explain why we're doing a new playthrough and where we're going with it. Excuse me. First of all, I'm going to be talking over the intro because if I don't, I get a copyright strike. Because there are people out, this is a little behind the scenes of YouTube, there are people out there who, on their YouTube video, on their YouTube channel, will put in this sort of opening sequence from a game and upload it to YouTube. That causes problems for people like me who play it, because if I play it and don't talk over it, if I just play it and let you see it and hear it, then I get a copyright strike because I'm including all of somebody else's content, despite the fact that they don't really have any content. It's one of my little bugbears on YouTube. I will often, if I am just watching YouTube, if I find somebody has uploaded portions of television shows and things like that, or movies, even if they're things that I absolutely love, I'll block their channel because they're just chucking up some other content and getting a whole bunch of views, and they haven't really created anything. But anyway, so the reason why I'm talking over this is because if I don't, I get a copyright strike, and I can't monetize that video. So it's a bit of a pain, but that's what it is. This playthrough, what's going on? Well, the last episode, the last video, which you would have seen a couple of days ago, was me finishing the main quest line of Skyrim on master level difficulty as a mage. For me, that was 2 weeks ago when I recorded that. Actually, that might have been 3 weeks ago. No, it'll be 2 weeks ago when I recorded that. But here's the thing. In real time, that was probably about a month ago that it was recorded. It was recorded in mid-February. And the reason is because I'm making videos ahead of time. And the reason we're not continuing on with that playthrough, even though at that time I said I was really interested in it, and I was, the reason we're not continuing with that is because when I'm recording videos, I will often play something different if I feel like playing videos, because I mostly record on the weekends. This is all behind the scenes stuff here. But I mostly record on the weekends because I have a regular day job. And so I will record a whole bunch of videos over the weekend and put them up and space them out, whatever. If I want to play another game when I'm not recording, I will generally play something completely different from what I'm recording, because the problem is when I do play the same game that I'm recording, there's a chance I can delete a save that was from the recording, or I could change some settings, uninstall mods, all of that type of stuff. And that's not good for continuity of the game. So I usually pick something different. A couple of weeks ago, after I finished getting through the main quest line, I jumped on Oblivion. Just thought to myself, let's give it a go. Let's see how well we can go with a mage in Oblivion. Now, the last playthrough that I did in Oblivion was a mage, and I was attempting to use the I think it's sometimes called, no, actually it's called, let me, hang on, I have it here, leveling, the leveling system, which is often called underleveling. No, it's called, oh, I can't, maybe it is called underleveling. But the idea is you never level up. And so we were playing that through. I think my character got to like level 4 by the end of it. We hadn't got all the way through. But the idea is to get around the issues with Oblivion's leveling system by not leveling. And therefore none of your enemies, because the problem is that as you level up, unless you're getting a +5 in the 3 attributes that you really want at every level in Oblivion, then very quickly you start to get outpaced by your opponents, because your opponents level up efficiently every single level, and they level with you. And so very quickly, you're just not doing enough damage, you don't have enough health, all of that type of stuff, and you end up struggling, and the only way to get around it is to drop the difficulty down, and when the game starts at, what for Skyrim would be adept difficulty, you end up having to run it down to something that makes you look like an absolute weakling. So there is another way to do things which is called efficient leveling, which is to really screw up your character build, because you level up when you get 10 levels in any of your major skills. And so what you do is you build a character where none of the skills that you want to use are major skills. They're all classed as minor skills. That allows you to level them up a lot before you actually get a level, which means you can be sort of guaranteed that you're going to get a +5 in the skills that you want. But it requires a lot of screwing around. You've got to create the very special class, and then you've got to sit there and you've still got to look at it and go, well, I need to level up this skill because of this, and I need to level up this skill because of that, and it becomes really, really hard to do. So I'm not going to do that. I tried playing the underleveling, and it was all right. The enemies weren't really feeling that hard, but there's a few enemies in the game, like zombies, that are like resistant to certain attacks. Zombies are vulnerable to fire, but they're resistant to a lot of other stuff. And it was just really hard as a mage to take down some of these opponents. And yeah, I was struggling, and I was wanting to be able to create more powerful spells, but because I'm not leveling up, I'm not getting any more magicka. Therefore, I had a limit as to how many spells I could cast, and I wasn't able to increase my regeneration of magicka. And so it was this little vicious cycle where, underleveling probably works really well as a melee or a ranged character, something that's not magic, basically. But in magic, you're really then limited on the spells that you can use. For example, while I'm doing underleveling, I can technically level up all of those skills. At higher levels, things like the open lock spells that you get in the alteration tree, you start knowing the a very easy lock, and then once you get to level 25, I think it is, of alteration, you can get the easy lock, and then at 50 you can get the hard lock, and then at 75 you can get the master lock or expert lock or whatever it is, and it goes like that. But it's going to be very hard to actually use some of those higher level spells because I'm never going to have the magic to cast it. So it is a struggle as a mage to do the underleveling. So this playthrough, I have the mod, which I mentioned in the previous playthrough that I wasn't using. I have the mod installed, and it'll be down in the description below, but I have a mod installed that allows me to automatically get a +5 in any attribute that I have leveled up. So what we're going to do as a mage, we're going to play the normal straight mage build. And I have tested this. I haven't gone all the way through, but I've gone actually quite a way through this playthrough as a mage, and it's working very, very good. There's going to be a couple of minor changes I'm going to make to this build to make it even better, but it was working really well. So as a mage, I need intelligence and I need wisdom. Intelligence raises my magicka pool. I get 2 magicka per intelligent point. So we're going to want to max out intelligence as quickly as we can, get up to 100. That gives us 200 magicka plus any other bonuses, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I'm going to want high wisdom. Wisdom increases my magicka regeneration, and that is really important too, because having a lot of magicka is great, but if it doesn't regen, you have to do completely different strategies. And there are strategies to do it, but it requires a lot of screwing around, which I'm not interested in. The other attribute we want to raise is endurance, which affects our health. The problem is there's multiple problems here. This even with this mod to help us. The first one is that intelligence, the skills that are used to raise intelligence are alchemy, conjuration, and mysticism. None of the skills that as a mage, I would really be using all that often. The skills that I'm going to be using all that often are alteration, which is my protection spells. They're not called flesh spells in here, but the protection spells, as well as destruction to do all my damage, and then, of course, restoration to heal myself. Those are going to be the main three schools that I'm probably working on. So I'm going to have to throw in either some alchemy, some conjuration, or some mysticism into all of this to be able to raise my intelligence to get more magicka. How I did that in my test playthrough was a lot of mysticism using the Detect Life spell. But I'm going to try a conjuration one where I'm going to conjure the bound dagger all of the time. And that will make things interesting. And I'll explain. Okay, so why do I need the bound dagger? Well, to raise endurance is going to be very hard because the three skills that cover endurance are armorer. I'm not wearing armor. I don't need to repair any armor. All I did in my last playthrough was occasionally repair the dagger that I was using when it got a little bit damaged. Block. Okay. And heavy armor. Well, I'm definitely not going to be wearing heavy armor. So it means the only skill that I can really get a lot of levels out of is block. And that's why I was carrying a dagger in the last one. And that's why I'm going to be conjuring the bound dagger in this playthrough. So I can use the bound dagger to block attacks. It won't block a lot of damage, but it will block some of it. It'll keep me alive. And more importantly, it'll raise the block skill, which will mean that at the next level, I can raise my endurance by 5 points, meaning I get a lot more health, and all of that will work well. So that's the plan. Straightforward mage character, bound dagger blocking. I'm not really going to use the bound dagger to attack, but the other thing I pointed out in the previous mage skill playthrough is when you are holding the block with a weapon, in particular a light weapon like a dagger, and you cast spells while you're doing that, you can cast the spells much more rapidly than what you normally could. So that is a good tactic that I always like to use as well. So let's go in. Let's dive on in and see how this all works. I'm going to be skipping around a bit. So, for example, once we get out of this intro section and we get out of the prison and we're out into the countryside of Cyrodiil, the first thing that I like to do is I go around the entirety of the Imperial City and loot all the containers that I'm allowed to loot from, and gather a whole heap of stuff that I can sell. And I usually hopefully find a couple of the backpacks from the backpack mod that I've got that'll help me to carry stuff. And then in this playthrough, I would then go around all of the mage guilds. So I would join the Mages Guild, and then I would go around every single mage guild and loot them of everything that can be looted. Books, alchemical gear, reagents, maybe even food, and just sell it all to make as much money as possible. The reason I do that is because I then want to go and get Frostspire Peak, which is the home that you can get on the mountains east of Bruma, and you need to pay to upgrade that. And in particular, the two things I want is the enchanting table and the spellmaking altar. Sorry, the enchanting altar. Both of those require some special candles, which cost about 3.5 grand each. So we need about 6 to 7 grand. It's somewhere. It's not fully 7 grand, but we need about 7 grand worth of gold to get those, and they're going to help a lot in this playthrough because we are going to be doing some enchanting. Unfortunately, enchanting is a skill that is not actually a skill in Oblivion. Strangely enough, in Morrowind, enchanting was a skill. In Oblivion, it's not a skill, but that's strange. And then in Skyrim, it's a skill again. So anyway, let's take a look at the character that we're going to build. It's definitely going to be another Breton. Now, the mage, the builds, the races, sorry, that are pretty good as mages are Bretons. Bretons, in my opinion, are the best because they get a plus 50 magicka at the start, and they also have some good bonuses to skills in the magic area. But more importantly, they are 25% magic resistant. So this is very similar to the Skyrim type of setup. Dark elves aren't bad. They are resistant to fire. They don't have that bonus to magicka though. So that is a little bit of a problem. High elves have a 100 bonus to magicka, so even more bonus to magicka, but then they are 25% vulnerable to fire, frost, and shock, which, or 50% even maybe. I cannot remember. Let me just quickly confirm that. They are... where is it? %. Yes, they are 25% vulnerable to fire, frost, and shock. So that, as a mage, is not a great option. Having said that, I still don't want to play High Elves in the Tamriel setting, in the Elder Scrolls setting, because of the fact that they're a bit of a bastard. No one else really stands out. Redguard do have a little bit of skill in... They have a skill in destruction, I think. But none of the others really stand out as races that are good as mages. But you will see a lot of mages in the game, in the various guild halls. You will see wood elves, you will see dark elves, you will see Argonians. In particular, you'll see Argonian females because they have a slightly better thing. That's the difference in Oblivion. There is differences between male and female. But anyway, we're going to stick with a male Breton. I'm not too fussed on most of this, but I don't think I like that hairstyle. Yeah, cropped, I think. No nonsense, just get rid of as much hair as possible so that I can cast my magic without it getting in my eyes or doing anything else, and I'm happy. That's the character's projecting there. That's yeah. I don't care about any of these other features. We need a name for this character. And I haven't really thought of anything. Why is that not typing? Oh, that's why I mistakenly went into the console mode. Let's do Malamba. As I said, some people may recognize that name. I've mentioned it in a previous video. Yes, I want to be a Breton. Okay. Get this guy talking. I may have to... Wow. Yeah, that's a bit better. I know that the volume on those voices will be a little quiet, but I don't want to make it too loud because it can sometimes just really overwhelm everything. All right, so Breton, no birth sign, no class yet. That happens later, but we'll try and get to that as quickly as we can. I've been talking for 20 minutes now. 150 magicka. That's the really important thing here. That's going to help us a lot. So we're starting with 50 intelligence, 50 willpower. That's because we get a plus 10 to those attributes as a Breton, which is very, very nice. Or as a Breton male, I should say. Although Breton females do seem to get that as well, don't they? Yes, they do. But we have a low agility and a low speed and a low endurance as a result. So that's going to be, because 40 is the default. So that's fine. We can work with that. The endurance is going to be the big one, but we're going to get as much health as we can, as quickly as we can, and we're going to do what we can to offset that early game. We'll see what we can do. We don't have any major bonuses to skills, but it's not destruction for it's conjuration, illusion, mysticism, and restoration. In alchemy, you don't get a bonus to destruction as a Breton. Most other magics you do. And we're not in any factions, of course, and we have done absolutely nothing, so none of that is going to be really sad. And we've got all of our clothes here. Don't get rid of your wrist irons. I've mentioned this before, they are the only, so like in Skyrim you can wear gloves that aren't gauntlets, they're not armor. The wrist irons are the only hand apparel in Oblivion that is not considered armor. Now the reason we don't want to wear armor is this spell effectiveness right here. As soon as we put armor on, that goes down, which means our spells do less damage, or they're just generally less effective. Restoration spells will heal us for less. Our detect life spell might have a reduced distance or a reduced duration, all of those sorts of things. So we don't want to wear any armor at all. So the wrist irons, you want to keep them so you can enchant them later. But there's a problem there. You've only got one, and you can't disenchant them. I found one other pair somewhere else. I can't remember exactly where it was, but in some dungeon somewhere, I'm going to be keeping my eye on the floor because there was a pair of wrist irons in one of the dungeons. There is also apparently another set of wrist irons in the Shady Isles, or whatever it's called, the place that is Shagoroth's home. There's an island in the middle of the lake or the inland sea in Cyrodiil that opens up on the second day, and importantly, that is if you go into there and go and do that part of the quest line, apparently there's another set of wrist irons in there somewhere. So there is, to my knowledge, there are 3 sets of wrist irons. I've only ever found the 2 because I've never done that DLC. But, yeah, it means you want to be careful if you're going to enchant those. I don't wear robes. I wear tunic or shirt and pants combinations, because if you wear anything that's a robe, or if it says that it's a set, it usually means it's shirt pants in one, and so that's only one item to enchant. Same with robes. Robes are just one item to enchant, so you lose the ability to enchant pants. So we're going to be doing that. Enchantment is going to be very different in this. In Skyrim playthrough, we enchanted to fortify destruction, and that is not, it is possible, but it's not as useful. It will reduce your magicka cost a little bit, but I don't think you can get the 100 fortify destruction. Maybe I should try it. But what I did in my previous playthrough, and what I'm going to do in this one, is use a combination. Protection. So because we can't wear armor, we can use the protections to enchant our clothes to make them like armor. And you can very quickly, like just by using petty soul gems, you can enchant up a set of clothing that is equivalent to chain mail from the light armor or steel armor from the heavy armor tree. Like, I can still be level 1 when I've got that. So we're going to be doing that, and then later on we're going to be enchanting up Fortify Magicka so that we can make our Magicka pool even bigger. There's no ability to dual enchant anything because enchanting isn't a skill. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing in this playthrough. To try and get through things a little bit better. Yeah, as I said, it is possible to fortify skills, magic skills, but I don't think it really helps as much in this game as it does in Skyrim. We might experiment with it as we go through, but generally we're just going to stick with this. All right, so I've got my fire spell ready to go. It's not a great spell. It does pitiful damage, but then most of the enemies at this point in the game are pitiful enemies. Biggest problem here the biggest problem here was hitting these guys without hitting my friendlies. Oh, by the way, I think it's 3 times. Why did I pick up those? I don't want Mythic Dawn stuff. All I want from these guys is potions or anything else that they've got. I do not care. There we go, potion. Sorcery potions are your Magicka. I will take the steel short sword. I will not bother taking the katana because it weighs 18 and I get nothing for it because it's taken off me later on. So there is that. Let's equip. See how fast I can shoot that, and I'm holding down block at the moment. All right, now if I don't hold down block, it's slower. Actually, get a bit of block. Oh, block skill increased already. There you go. That's once I get to level 2. Do I want the rat meat? It doesn't weigh very much, so I guess I will take it. Once I get to level 2, I will automatically now, because I've got at least 1 level in block, I will be good. I will be able to put 5 points into endurance and get some more health. Sorry, it's a little dark. It's actually darker for me than it is for you. I'm not trying to grab absolutely everything in here. Oh, and I'm not going to just now stop blocking just because I got that level. I am going to continue to use it. Make that gold. I don't want that. I don't want the bow. The start of the nuisance. Lockpicking. Thankfully, we will get the spell very soon. The problem will be, unlike the mod that I was using in my Skyrim playthrough, because for some bizarre reason in Skyrim there is no spell to open locks. So I used a mod for that, and the mod that I used was set up. There was actually a couple of different mods that did it, but the one that I used was very good in that it just based your success on your alteration level. So there was no set thing that said, oh, you can only pick this level lock, you can only open this level locks. It just became a chance. It became random as to whether you would open the lock, depending on how high your skill is compared to the locks. I much prefer that because there are different spells for different levels, and if I come across a lock that is higher than my current alteration, than the most powerful spell that I've got, tough luck. It will never work. I missed somehow. It's the problem I have. I do still seem to have a little bit of a problem hitting some of these opponents, and I'm not talking about just rats, by the way. I'm talking about any opponent from distance. I even though I got to like level 20 or something in the test playthrough that I did, so I got quite a way through. But yeah, I just found it really hard to aim at things at a great distance. One strategy here would have been to leave all the rats so that they could help kill this guy, because he is a little bit hard. He's not as hard as a normal zombie. My health is not low. God, that's barely like a third down. I'll take the mort flesh, and we will take the rat meat and the rat meat. I've got to remember, I've got the take all key mod as well. Can't wait to get a light spell soon. Having said that, it's not going to last for very long until I can get the spell-making altar and make my own version that will last for a significant amount of time. Let's take all of that. Take the rat meat. Oh, hello there. Thankfully, the rats are easy enough to kill, but I don't have to worry about these guys too much. See, that's going to... Oh, that did hit that guy. I didn't think it was going to. And we've got to wait for this guy to come up the stairs. Here we go. Now, there's probably another one back there somewhere. There he was. Again, I'm not going to pick up really... Oh! Hello there. Which reminds me, I need to heal. I'm not really going to pick up anything here. I could pick up like the cheese and the cabbage and stuff like that. Yeah, don't really want to. That shield is just too heavy. Now, I'm using block, as I said, to as a skill, but I'm also using it to, help as a bit of protection. You could argue that, well, if I was to use a shield and block with that, so let's unequip that. Oh, you do need to have a weapon in your hand for that to work. Okay. So now I can be blocking like that and still casting spells. But my spell effectiveness is down to 88% because that's armor. So, yeah, we're not going to be doing that. Probably should save too. In fact, let's do a full save, which I really should have done earlier. All right. So we want maximum spell effectiveness, so we're not going to be wearing any armor and therefore also not going to be carrying a shield. There should be a rat around here somewhere. No. All right. I feel like I'm getting attacked from behind by a rat now. Not that it will be a big problem. Maybe that was him there. Sometimes he's in the other room. Oh no, that's him there. There's not usually two of them. So yeah, the other advantage of holding down the block when I'm casting spells is also that if I time things right, I can actually block my opponent's attacks between my spell casts. which is what happened there with that rat. So that was working well. So there is a flawed ruby and a silver goblet there, which is a little bit of extra money. No, no. Sometimes there's something semi-decent in there. Okay, they want me to hide, but I don't need to hide on this guy. All I have to be aware of is the fact that he is running, which means I can often miss him. Alright. Teach me about alchemy, don't care. Gonna sell all of that. It's really not worth taking, to be honest. Well, some of it is. The mortar and pestle usually sells for a bit. I think most of the other ingredients was just junk. So I have a lockpicking mod that I'm using as well, because I hate the lockpicking minigame in Oblivion. So I just refuse to use it, and I have a mod instead that you just wave this thing at the lock and it randomly decides whether it's been picked or not. I could actually use... I could use these apprentice lockpicks instead of a dagger to block, if I really wanted to, and I'll actually show you that. But the daggers don't have quite as much resilience. I mean, the lockpicks. It's not that they won't block as much, but it just, they will wear out quicker because, you know, a couple of blocks and that's down to 99 health. This one, I think, was already at 99 when we got it. Maybe not, but yeah. He probably dropped a weapon of some sort as well, but I'm not going to bother picking it up because it'll be something heavy. It'll either be a war axe, I think it's called, or it will be a mace. Neither of which I really need, and I definitely don't want. Another easy lock, so-called easy, I should say. Well, very easy is what I'm saying. It's so-called very easy, but it's actually not that easy. Back to our... Well, I can use the iron dagger now, because at least if I do swing with it, it causes 1 point of damage. I am probably going to actually attack with the dagger occasionally, and that will be if I'm out of magicka. And a strategy that works well with that as well is to have a dagger that is enchanted with something like Absorb Magicka or Absorb Health, so that once my Magicka is down... Oops, that was silly of me, wasn't it? I should have not been quite so determined to get down here. Yeah, if you have a dagger that is Absorb Magicka or Absorb Health, then it can help you if you do run out of Magicka to fight for a little bit and keep your health up, or regain some Magicka so that you can keep going. So we may enchant that on a dagger at some point, or if we find a weapon with that on it, we might use it. The reason we're using daggers is just that they swing faster. That doesn't change how quickly we can cast spells, or how often we can block with them, or how effectively we can block with them. What it does change is if we do need to go and do that to attack, to regain some health or magicka or whatever, I will be able to regain that attribute, that little bit quicker because I'm attacking more often. Oops. I need the right spell. There we go. See, yeah, I don't want these iron maces. They weigh too much and they don't do jack. They don't sell very well, I suppose is what I meant by that. Now, that guy's dead from a distance, which is nice. The knife doesn't sell for anything. Let's quick save here. We want to get at least one hit on that guy, but we got two, so that's even better. There's one more guy over there. We just saw him move. He is a spell casting. There it is. Keeping an eye out for rats in this area because I don't want one of them coming up and trying to attack me while I'm taking on this guy. There's also a couple of rats. Usually in there. So that should be all of the rats, I think. When I get to a position... Where is he? He's right. Oh, how did that miss? There we go, that got him. Yeah, he casts a protection on himself, I think. And then he runs over to here, and then... couple of decent hits, and he's down, and his staff. The big problem I have with that guy in fights is occasionally when you hit him, he will ragdoll and his staff will go flying and it disappears through the world somewhere. I'm not going to use the staff. It's 5 points of shock damage. It's not huge, but it's better than nothing. You know, it's not depleting your magicka when you use it. But quite frankly, I'd rather just stick with what I've got. And that petty soul gem, is that filled? I doubt it will be, but let's see. It is. So that's a petty soul. We're going to keep that. We're not going to sell that because at the first opportunity, we're going to use that to enchant some gear. Okay, I found a repair hammer. Don't need to use it, but it is very tempting to. Now, let's be honest, I also have a mod which adds, where is it? Oh, I don't have it yet until I get out. But once I get out of this, there is a mod that I have which adds an ability to recharge or repair my gear, all of it, using magic. So I don't need to use a repair hammer to repair everything that I've got because I can do it with a spell. I'm probably not going to. Well, yeah, maybe I will actually. You'll see. But anyway. Okay, we're out of this first section. And meeting back up with the Emperor and his blades. Let's go. It can be hard to help very much in these upcoming fights because A, your fireball doesn't do huge amounts of damage, and B, like that, you don't want to hit the guards like I just did, and so they're threatening to kill me now because, well, not because I did this, they're threatening to kill me anyway, but if I hit one of these guards 3 times, they will turn hostile. Maybe not these guards, but in general. If you have a follower of some sort, or you've summoned, you know, an Atronach or whatever, it will turn hostile after you hit it 3 times. All right, now, here is the really important thing that we're going to do. We get to choose our birth sign. So there are a few that are going to be really interesting as a mage, and this first one, the apprentice, is an interesting one. 100 point to magicka, but 100% weakness to magic. I feel this only really works well on a Breton because they do get the 50% magic resistance, which means you're only going to be 50% weak to magic, excuse me, and you could enchant away that other 50% weakness later on fairly easily, right? So that would be something that you could consider. I don't like that 50%, that 100% weakness to magic, or that 50% as it will be. That's just, it's not enough. The Lady. Now, this is one that a lot of people will tell you to take as a mage because it increases your endurance by 10 points, which is a lot, particularly for a Breton who has a 10-point deficit on their endurance to begin with. And it also increases your willpower, which increases your magicka rate, your magicka regeneration rate. That's very good for a mage. But here's the thing. This will not mean that you can get to 110 willpower and 110 endurance naturally. It's not a bonus like that where it's just 10% on top of what your real value is. No. This is just up the starting value. So it only helps you to start with in the game. It doesn't help you once you get your willpower and endurance to 100, that's it. The only thing that can raise them beyond that is magic. You cannot do it with one of these. So while this helps you to begin with, it doesn't provide an extra bonus later. Like the bonus goes away. It just helps you to start. So the Mage is probably the better one to do as a starting character, because that 10 points bonus to magicka, that 50 points bonus to magicka is good. That gives me 200 magicka to start with, I think. Anyway, we'll find out in a sec. So I'm going to pick that. The other one that you could try, and I have never done this, but you get 150 extra magicka. So your base magicka is increased by 150, and you have a 50% spell absorption, but you do not regenerate magicka over time. So there's no need to raise your wisdom at all, because it's just, your willpower at all, because it's just not needed, because you do not regenerate. And there is no way to get around this. What you end up doing is you end up playing as a conjurer a lot with this, because what you'll do, as I said earlier, if you conjure something and then attack it 3 times, it will attack you back. So if you cast a fire atronach, for example, and then you attack it 3 times, it'll then start attacking you, and you can use those spells that it's casting at you to recharge your magicka. I find this silly and pointless. There are probably other ones that sound like they would be good for a mage, being invisible once a day. But there's nothing that increases your intelligence, right? So there's nothing that increases your magicka pool. And even if there was, the 10 points that you would get. So let's say this increased your willpower and intelligence. The 10 points of intelligence results in 20 points of magicka, whereas the mage is giving you 50, and that's 50 that lasts forever. It's not like a 50 bonus that starts at the early game and then eventually you can't get any higher. So mage, in my opinion, is the best way to go. Yes, we're going to be born under the mage sign. Let's just skip through the rest of this. Can you see my fate? Aren't you afraid to die? Where are we going? Let's go. All right. Enough. Yeah, you know what? Here's what I think of your suggestion that I carry a torch. And he didn't have anything that I wanted, and he didn't have anything. There should be 3. I thought there was normally 3 guys. Okay, get weapons out because there's going to be another attack here in a second after we loot that. In fact, I can get this attack to start early.
Not much farther.
All right. Be honest, you can sit back and let them do all the damage if you want in these fights, because they will. And none of them will die until later. Damn it, that missed. No, he's not. He was never in danger. The Emperor's in danger because he stupidly runs into combat. Tell you what, if I was one of these... where did the other body go? Oh, there it is. If I was one of these guards, I'd be knocking the Emperor over the head and carrying him out. Because quite frankly, the Emperor draws his dagger and charges into combat. And he's not wearing any armor or anything. It just does not make sense. All right.
Let me take a look.
Doesn't matter what I do here. There's absolutely nothing around here. And it just takes a little bit of time for these guys to decide what they're doing. So I'm just going to come in here. Oh, and I'm going to take this opportunity to get my health, because I almost died and didn't even notice it. Let's get my health all the way back up, and I should have enough time for my magicka to regen before it all goes south. Come on, hurry up.
It's a dead end. What's your call, sir?
I don't know. I don't see any good options here. They're behind us. Wait here, sire.
Wait here with the Emperor. Guard him with your life. Take
For
them
the
down!
Emperor!
Are they going to be able to stop any of them from coming down the hall? No. Damn it. Did that again. Strangely, this guy doesn't bother attacking the Emperor. Oh, great. Now he just died somehow.
Take them down!
Alrighty, and I've got the Emperor's amulet.
Talos, save us.
Let's get through this.
We failed. He must drop. Not of it. There are.
Okay, what class does it think it is? It thinks we are a witch hunter, which is a magic class, and it does have a favorite attribute of intelligence. But it also has agility, and we've got marksman as a major skill and stuff like that. Now, we are going to just pick straight up mage. Intelligence and willpower, our two favorite attributes, definitely. Destruction, alteration, restoration. Yep, they're the ones I want. Illusion, well, I'm really only going to use the light spell from that. Mysticism, probably really only going to use detect life from that. Conjuration, yeah, I am going to use that a little bit. Mostly just to conjure the bound dagger. Probably only to conjure the bound dagger if I'm honest. Yes, I want to be a mage. You weren't far off. No, you were far off.
Good.
Okay, so you don't have anything on that body. What have we got over here? You, no. No. Some gold on you. Nothing that I want. I actually, in my test playthrough, he had dropped his weapon. Because, you know, if you pick up the commander's way back at the start of this, when the commander gets killed, if you pick up her katana and carry it with you, you have to give it back to Barris at that interaction that we just had. And I believe that you could probably grab the other guy's katana and maybe even sell it. I don't know, but I've only ever seen it knocked out once. Okay, we've got more spells. So we have Open Very Easy Lock. That's going to be on our 7. Turn Undead. No, never going to use it. Minor Life Detection. We might put that on our 4 slot. And Protect will be on our 5. Do we have Starlight? That'll be on our 6. And then we have Flare at the moment. And we have Cold Touch. Don't care about it. And we have Shocking Touch. But we don't have any range. The only ranged damage spell that we have is... Oh, so good to be able to open those locks with a spell. Only ranged damage spell we have is the flare that we're currently using. So that is fine. Let's get some light. It won't last long. And let's get that protection going. Oh, do we have the bound dagger yet? I don't think we do. So these are the recharge weapons and repair equipment stuff that I mentioned. No, we're going to have to get the bound dagger. Okay. Early spell to aim for. And now we sit and wait while all of these quest markers come in for all of the DLC quests. And you always think that was the last one. And then one more comes. And you think, okay, that was the last one. And you think, that's got to have been the last one. All right. This is just getting ridiculous. Okay, I think we're good. And then I'm sure there'll be one more that pops in a second, just to prove us wrong. Well, let's get protection. Like, I do like the Detect Life spell. I mean, it is useful. It does allow me to see, like, that there's a rat all the way down there, and that there is a goblin just there. But it doesn't last very long. There is a HUD that I can get later on that is actually really quite good because it has a permanent... It has that permanently on it. Another iron dagger. I'll take it because it's reasonably light. Just get the rat meat off that guy because I've been collecting rat meat. Not because I really want it, but because it already stacks with what I've got. So I might as well. I did search you. Very good. There is a single gold piece right there. I've done you already. Fine. There will be another rat. No. Oh. There. I should have used my Detect Life spell, shouldn't I? 6, 5, and 4. The protection spell that I've got there at the moment is pitiful. If we have a look, my armor is only at 5, but it's not that bad compared to some of the armor that you get early game. Because really the leather armor, the full set of leather armor would only have been about a 5 as well. Oh, the Detect Life had already worn off. So, yeah, this would be equivalent to a leather armor, but it wouldn't be the equivalent of the rusty iron that you can get. Wow, I thought I wasn't going to make this through. I thought I was going to be here for like an hour and a half, but here we are. We're outside, and it's just on the hour that I like to keep my episodes to, so that feels really good. Let's take out this crab. Come on. And the game crashed. One moment, please.